already talked about it, and I think I know the answer to this. Obviously, favorite Tom Petty album, if you can only pick one.
You're gonna be surprised. It's out of that trilogy. Long After Dark is the one I'd pick. And the reason
Nice.
is I like that darkness, and I think it has a lot to do, and I'm sure you've read about Tom's horrendous childhood with his father and the
Yeah.
beating. So it's got that dark tone to it, which I love. But in classic Petty, he brings that light, a hope, and that optimism to it as well. And I think that has
Yeah.
both of them in there. And Change Your Heart Alone, that riff is just
Oh,
unbelievable. And I love playing that one back to back, and it's just my favorite.
and it's that if you think about it too, it's that first record where they really start stretching a little bit away from rock. So You Got Lucky. Now, Benmont hated the Sins and wasn't
Yes,
overly pleased
yes.
about playing them, but still you get this different sense. Okay, we can do that as well. Then
Yeah,
that sort of adds this other string to our board. If we need it,
yeah.
we can go back to it, and we know we can do it now. And man, Straight Into Darkness.
I was going to say Ben Mott's piano on that is
Oh
just
my
like
god! I
right.
mean,
It's the cliche of somebody who can say those words and you go, I think I'm on that plane. I think I'm looking out the
yeah,
window. I'm with you. You've got it down perfectly.
it's just visceral. Yeah, I mean, and okay, we'll go, again talk about side one. One Story Town,
Yes.
great album opener. You Got Lucky.
That was the opener of the tour,
Yeah.
the One Story Town.
You Got Lucky, Deliver Me, Change of Heart. Change of Heart. It's
Yes.
another great riff. And then
Yes.
Finding Out. I mean, so what's it, 2 and 5?
Like
So
you
Got
said
Lucky
with
and Finding
Jimmy,
Out, yeah.
pack. You're
Yeah.
buying the album.
But then Straight Into Darkness is on
Yes.
on side 2, right?
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah.
and again, that's sometimes, what the band hears or what the producer hears as a hit or
Yeah.
one of the best cuts. It's not always the one that resonates with fans.
Yeah.
And even like We Stand a Chance, Same Old You, it's got that
Yes.
Stonesy,
Yes.
bluesy kind of swagger to it.
Yeah, and I wish if I could put you in time to send you back to that tour. I saw it at the Cow Palace in San Francisco. Great venue name, by the way, the Cow Palace in San Francisco. And they blew the doors off the place because they had that. So you got to think about what the other songs were that they were playing. Damn the Torpedoes, and they could go back to Breakdown, and it was just a dream set list.
Yeah. I'll have to go back and look at it. I'll go see what they play. Because I mean, that's the thing too. I like going back and looking at the set list, and you just think, wow.
Yeah.
And and there'll be 20 songs or 21 songs, and you think there's at least 21 songs. You could replace literally every one of those 21 with a different 21, and it would still be as strong.
And that would not be a disappointed audience.
No. Right? And that's from Midpoint too, I think. That's from, I mean, in Full Moon Fever, the 8 albums to Full Moon Fever, pick any 21, or not any 21, but you could pick 2 different 21 song set lists there that are just going to blow the doors off.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so question 2, Mudcrutch or Traveling Wilburys?
I'm with the mainstream here. This one, the Wilburys. I was fortunate enough to see everybody live, but George Harrison solo. So I've seen all the other performers, and I'm sorry, just the songwriting and the lyrics and them outdoing each other, and it's just the hits are just incredible. And it was they just getting out of college. All my friends were getting married. That album was ubiquitous on the air, and there's just so many good tunes, and everybody keeps their own style, which I like in the album as well. There's no pandering to mainstream hits, or because they're all so established, they're playing for each other. And them being giddy about having Roy Orbison in the band is hilarious. And Dylan's quote about, hey, he used to be in the Beatles. I mean, you can't write all that stuff if you're a PR person. It's just too good as well. So that one for me is no gray area. Although again, I saw Mudcrutch twice, and I love that chemistry, and I know you've said it a few times, but that respect for Tom to bring his friends back and give him that tour when there's no need to do it, right? That's not the venues dropped in size, and I could tell he was just having a blast. And I mentioned earlier, I was the most relaxed I saw him in a show in 43 years, so he was having a great time, which always translates to us.
Yeah, it's just that pressure off thing. So
yes,
but you saw Roy live.
Yes.
How was that? That must have been
great.
Something
he still
else.
had his pipes. He died probably maybe 7 years later, I think, after that, but he still sounded great. And he'd had his new album out that he was touring on as well. So it was really a treat to see a legend like that. Not a long set because of his age, I think, and health, but it was still a great show.
Did he do crying?
Yeah.
Oh. Man, I think I would die on the spot if I ever heard, if I heard Roy Orbison sing that live. I mean, that vocal in that song.
Yeah, and there was a very nice outdoor venue in San Diego, and it was a lovely evening, and it was magic. It really was. You knew that you probably were not going to see this again.
Yeah, I love too that everyone for the longest time thought that Roy Orbison was blind because he wore the shades. It was like, no, I just don't want anyone to see my eyes. That's good. Okay, so we've already established, Mark, that you're not a musician, but We'll pretend you are, or that you have the whatever chops you want.
Yeah.
If you could join the Heartbreakers on stage for one song, which song would it be, and what instrument would you play and or sing?
Yeah. I'm not, and I respect musicians and particularly the Heartbreakers too much. So my microphone is off in this imaginary scenario, and my instrument is unplugged. I am maybe giving myself a tambourine or a cowbell, and there's no sound around me. I'm gonna have to focus on being a good hang with the band versus contributing anything as well. So I'm doing mine is I got the doctor's credo: do no harm. Right? I'm not gonna look at damage. But I'm on stage for listen to her heart. That one is just fantastic to me. You always say about lyrics matching a song. It's just one of those.
Yeah.
It's just perfectly written and perfectly executed, and it's just fantastic, and it resonates with everybody as a human being, right? That learning, that yearning for love, right? So it's a fantastic song.
I like that you're taking the Socratic approach to music. That's an interesting approach. No one's done it yet. It's novel. It's unique. What did you think?
I can't take the musical one.
What did you think of? I don't know if you listened to that. So the guy I had on, Ivan Anderson from Cyber Attack, who does that very totally different. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I thought it was great. It's creative. And I love. Again, it's one of those ones. I think the bones are so good. Good luck trying to destroy it. You can't. And I thought that was great. So I loved it. I thought it was a unique approach.
That's awesome, because I love it too, and I love this whole album. Like, again, one of those things where, like Matt or like Jake, when you stumble across these artists and you think, well, this is more interesting than 90% of why I'm hearing on the radio. Like, and it's that thing was, we just need to find a way to get these people up front and in the conversation. But
and the other part about it is, though, I love them being in small venues where you have access to them, and you can have a beer, and you can still see them, and you're not paying $25 for your beer, and you're not sitting. They're not this big on stage. It's just fantastic, right? And they're both personable guys in this case with the folks we're talking about too.
Absolutely,
yeah.
So question 4, who would be your dream opening act at a Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers concert?
I kind of went through my list of who I've seen. I saw Regina Spektor open, The Replacements. I saw Steve Earle. I saw Nick Lowe.
Steve Earle opened for Tom Petty?
Yeah. In San Diego, he opened for him. Yeah.
I'm a huge Steve Earle fan too. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he did. It was a very, very good show, and you could tell it was like a musician show of them hanging out together as well. I think I saw. Let's see. Like I said, I mentioned the Georgia Satellites, the Smithereens, Pearl Jam, Steve Winwood, Joe Cocker, Lenny Kravitz, Drive By Truckers, Black Crowes, Jackson Browne. So an incredible array of people, but I always wanted to have Stevie Ray Vaughan open for him one time as well, which I think would have been a great double bill. The other one I'm on the bubble with is Warren Zevon, and I'm a big Warren Zevon fan because he has those wry, intelligent lyrics like Tom did as well. So, but I'm gonna stick to Stevie Ray Vaughan just to hear that great blues guitar, because I think he was such a unique sound.
Did you ever see him live?
No, I never saw Stevie Ray Vaughan
saw him,
live.
Yeah,
or Warren Zevon might be the reason I picked them, but you did.
My best friend, no, I didn't. But my best friend Randy, who does all the music for the show,
yes,
that was his guy. Like Stevie Ray Vaughan was, and I saw. So the first time I ever saw Pride and Joy, was my friend was playing in his band. My friend was the keyboard player in his band. That's how I met him, and they played Pride and Joy. And when they came up, I was like, dude, is that one of Randy's songs? He's like, no, dude, that's Stevie Ray Vaughan. And I'm like, who's that? So again, I get exposed to this artist. I'm like, wow, because you're right. I talk about, I'm a big Van Halen fan. I'm a big Queen fan. Those three guitarists, to me, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Brian May, Eddie Van Halen, their tone is just so specific and so unique.
Yes,
two notes. No one sounds like that. Yeah,
even amateurs know, right?
Yeah,
I can tell
100%.
it a couple of things as well. So it's absolutely incredible. So no, I love the Stevie Ray Vaughan stuff. A 3-piece band too. They just killed it.
Oh, right? Double trouble,
yeah, absolutely.
And his brother's not a slouch either, right?
No, no, it's very true. It's very true.
Okay, so speaking of personable guys, who's your favorite band member other than Tom Petty?
Yeah, this one's very, very tough for me again. Favorite child, but it's Mike. Mike's just my favorite as well. We talked about how much I love Benmont for his contributions, and the more you listen to these, the more you appreciate Benmont. But I lost a brother to substance abuse, so I got a little spot for Howie as well, and his vocals with Tom were magic as well. And then to see his demise, because obviously I mentioned how long I was going to shows. You could see him slowly going downhill, not making the album cover shot for Echo. I drove up from San Diego to see them get their star in Los Angeles as well, and that was a sad time for him as well. So, but more positive note, Mike and his contributions are unbelievable. And again, still seeing the knobs. It's so happy that he did not hang up the cleats and he stayed out
Yeah.
there and continues to rock. So it was great.
Well, and that's that thing where, again, I've talked, and you probably heard me talk about this with lots of guests, with Hypnotic Eye being an album of an artist on the upswing still. Not there's
Yes.
no decay here, but Mike Campbell, you cannot turn that tap off. It just seems like that it just pours out of him.
Yes.
And prolific.
Absolutely.
You think about, wouldn't you love to hear, talking about things we'd love to hear from the archives, wouldn't you just love to hear those tapes that he gave to Tom, just to hear what they threw away?
Right.
You know, what they left out, because there's going to be tons of that stuff you'd think that, well, that's on someone's greatest hits album. That's so good.
Exactly right. I love that trivia question about who's the only band to have a #1 hit from a greatest hits album. It's Mary Jane's Last Dance that went on to be #1, and like that's an add-on, right? But I'm sure the record company loved that. You know how many we're going to sell of these so people can get Mary Jane's Last Dance as well. So yeah,
I still think it's the only song I've ever seen written specifically for a greatest hits album that actually belongs on that artist's greatest hits album, that is a greatest hit. You know?
Yeah, that's a good point as well. And that one was always on the set list. And it killed. The crowd went crazy when he started those first few notes, right? It's such an original riff. Yeah. And we go back to Mike, though. I mean, think about other songs. He wrote hits for other people as well. That's how good he is, right? He could give away stuff to Don and to, Stevie and to these other people as well. And Maria McKee and Lone Justice? Yes, that band as well.
Well, him and Benmont, I mean, they played with, like you said, I mean, being a good hang and being a good musician and being a professional gets you a lot of gigs. And people, if he's underrated in the mainstream or by sort of, the layperson, there's no one in the serious music industry who doesn't rate Benmont Tension, wouldn't have him on their record in a heartbeat.
It reminds me of the documentary, The Wrecking Crew, when you see those people that are on every good album made from the 70s as well. And Benmont is in on a ton of other people's, where he's just almost like a studio guy. And I'm sure it's because he's in Los Angeles, but everybody wants him on the album, right?
Yeah, and that's that thing of, Stan Lynch was replaceable because Steve Ferroni is a phenomenal drummer and brought a different thing to the Heartbreakers. Yeah. Ron left, Howie comes in, Ron comes back. You get Scott Thurston in. If you take either Mike or Benmont out of the Heartbreakers, it's done. It's game over. It's not going to be the same thing, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely true. Absolutely.
Okay, so you've been to a million gigs. But if there's one Tom Petty concert from history that you weren't at, which one would it be?
It would probably be the Wiltern shows that I did not see. I would go to those because, again, I saw Fonda, I saw Fillmore, I saw a lot of great small venues with him over time. But and that one's also a very tough question because, like, I'd love to be at the Earl Grey Whistle Stop. I'd love to be, at the at any of the Whiskey would be on the list too. So that's like a top 3. But I'll pick the Wiltern because I think that time period they were really on fire.
And I think that's what Michael Washburn picked, because he was talking about it would have been really interesting to see what the temperature in the room was like when Tom sort of said, "Hey, that's enough with the battle flags now," just to see, just to see what the crowd did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Just dynamically, that would have been very interesting on the people watching side.
It would have been, because again, there's always a crowd has a certain energy level no matter what's going on. And if you could take that temperature, I agree with you, it'd be fascinating.
Well, I think that's a really cool venue. Is the Wiltern still there? Is that still kicking? Yeah.
They still have a lot of tribute shows there in Los Angeles. It's like a musician's place to go for for David Crosby and other people that they have things to honor them. They always go to the Wiltern.
Cool. Okay. Walls Circus or Walls number 3, which is your favorite?
I'm with you and Matt on 3. I love those vocals and it just got more to it and I enjoy it a lot more. I don't think that's a gray area for me. I'm definitely a 3 guy as well. And
I don't think they ever played the Circus arrangement live, did they? I'm pretty sure when they played it live, it was always sort of either, really stripped back acoustic, or it was the very simple, 3 version. I don't think they ever did that swung, slowed down.
Not that I know of, and I don't think it's on the Fillmore album, so I don't think they did that. No, not very often as well. And again, that's a weird time because it was a movie soundtrack, and there's a Lucinda Williams tune on that one as well, Change the Locks, which is a great song as well, and perfect for the movie. So it was an interesting time period as well. I think that one was like a slow burn on Tom Petty fans. And
I was thinking, like, because I did my, I'd answered these questions on my 100th episode. I was thinking, oh man, I should have totally said Wall Circus covered by Soundgarden. That would have been wicked cool.
That would have been good. That would have been very good.
Okay, so on to that question then. If you can pick any artist to cover any Tom Petty song, which artist and which song would you go with?
I'd love to hear Jack White do I Should Have Known.
Oh, wow.
For that riff.
Yeah. Because he'd take that all the way back to its roots, right? Yeah.
Exactly right. And he's always good about the stripped down and, Seven Nation Army. So I also had another one too. I don't know if he's on your radar or not, but another great artist doing kind of Americana music is Jason Isbell.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Jason, yeah, I'd love to hear him do Louisiana Rain. I think would be a great cover as well. But I'm going with Jack White just to hear that power chord of just demolishing that song. Because it was always, again, how did Zeppelin not write that riff back in 72?
I know.
How did that come about? Why is it not taken?
Same thing with You Wreck Me.
Yes.
Some of these riffs you think, well, that's the same genre with music. You think,
yes,
there's only so many chords.
Right.
There's only so many ways of playing, especially in a blues rock or a rock and roll paradigm, where you're playing on the one and the three. Like, there's only so many ways you can do it. And yet, these people still keep coming up with different ways to write instrument parts. I think a lot of it, and I think that's another thing with Mike is that I love, that he's a professor of tone.
Yes.
Like, he always managed to find exactly the right tone as well as the right part, which is, again, that's not a thing that everyone has. Keith Richards doesn't have it. Keith Richards plays what he plays, and he plays the same damn thing night and night, which is, it's a Keith thing, and
right.
But
we love it. It's great. You're right. No, that's very, very true.
Yeah.
So that riff is just amazing to me. And I seeing that one, and it was the Mojo tour, just blew the doors off the room. It was great.
Well, that was pretty ever present. Once after that, right? They kind of play, because it's again,
it was,
and it's just a crowd pleaser, because of course you're going to get it, especially when they go double time and then you can dance. So
yes, exactly right. And Tom did a lot of good stuff with it on stage. Where he just grabbed a tambourine. He didn't play his guitar. Mike did all the heavy lifting when Thurston did the the backup, and so it was great. It was always great.
Isbell doing Louisiana Rain though, that would be a good one too. I mean, he's definitely done Petty covers.
Yeah, when Petty died, he had an audience at the Ryman for like 7 nights, and every night he picked a different Tom Petty song to do during the 7 nights. But that wasn't on the list; just didn't happen to be. But he did a lot of Refugee, Listen to Her Heart, that kind of stuff.
And he's got the same kind of authentic DNA that Tom, like he plays for people, and he doesn't the bullshit Nashville thing. He pushes back against, and so you've that authenticity.
Yeah,
respect the hell out of the guy. Same as
he's a great lyricist too. As well.
Great songwriter.
So I saw Petty, and I was a fan club from probably 1979. Kathy Buffington used to run the old one, and I think we paid $5 a year to be on the mailing list or something ridiculous. And we'd get stickers, and it was and I think in the Fillmore thing they included one of the copies of the old thing for the new folks to look at of what this we're getting it by mail, right? They'd mail it to you, physical mail in those days. And anyway, so I was at a show in Nashville. And from the fan club, that was why I brought that part up. I was always getting very, very good seats. And I don't know if they could tell how long I'd been tenured in the Petty family, but they took care of me. So I was in 3rd, 4th row or something. So I was in Nashville seeing a Petty show. And Isbell and his band were inside the riser on the side, like 6 or 7 of them, all there watching the show in awe. You could tell they were just like, this guy's the real deal as well. So that's my Jason Isbell story.
That's awesome. And I mean, and Tom, they share a lot of those musical roots, because there is country in the Heartbreakers.
Yeah.
Of course, Carl Perkins was rock and roll, but he was as much rock and roll as country. All those old acts that they used to listen to, it all comes from the same place, right?
Yes, that's very, very true. And that was, I think he carried that with him through the end and was always respectful of that. And they backed up Johnny Cash on his album as well. So there's tons of country roots there. And again, he's a Florida guy, right?
Yeah.
Not taking that out of him.
You take the boy to Florida. Okay. What song do you most frequently recommend to people who don't know Tom's music? After you've slapped them, obviously, after you've slapped them for not knowing Tom's music, that's
you're right, exactly right. Mike Campbell recommended this one, so who am I to argue with Mike Campbell? Actually, I'm a little bit different. That Mike said American Girl is what they should listen to get all of them. I'm more of a listen to her heart kind of guy, and I think once you get that, you're going to understand the lyrics, the rock and roll, the vibe, and the band's tightness, and how great the lyrics are. I think that's a comprehensive, great Tom Petty song that doesn't get old and everybody can relate to within a few notes.
I was talking to someone about the perfect pop song. What's the most perfect pop song? And to me, it's always been Waterloo Sunset by the Kinks, because I'm a huge Kinks fan. Yeah. But I think both Free Falling and Listen to Her Heart are 100% in that conversation.
Yes.
There's those, like, as a musician or as a listener, what would you change?
Yeah.
Perfect length. Yeah. The lyrics are perfect. It's hummable. It's catchy. It sticks with you. They're just these perfect pop songs. And second album. So they do American Girl on the first album, Let's Do It on the second album. That's insane to me.
Yeah. And again, I think the other part that resonates with people is that universal theme of what those things are about. I might throw even Learning to Fly in there. I'd be very comfortable playing for that. Somebody the first time going like, I get that. We're all at that point in our life. We've all had love and loss and all those kind of things and taking off. And again, one of Tom's great talents is taking you from birth to death and everything in between as well in all of his albums.
Well, as I said on the Learning to Fly episode, what's remarkable about that song is it's 3 chords, literally 3 chords, all the way through. There's no bridge. There's no movement in that song. And yet he still manages to make it this masterpiece.
You can see a producer going like, that's a throwaway. There's nothing there. There's no there there. Trust me, I know the business, kid. First
track. Let's lead the album with this one. Yeah.
Exactly right. No, it's great.
Because Jeff Lynne knows. Jeff Lynne's got a good set of ears. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so last question in my 10 questions. Describe Tom Petty in 3 words.
Let's see. What did I have down? I think I did. I put integrity, passion, and love.
IPL.
Yeah. And, last one's probably me more talking about myself and my love for his music than it is him.
Well, that's okay, though, because I think that people don't orient it that way.
Yeah.
Because I think you could do it from let's talk about Tom.
Yeah.
Or you can do it from the context or the perspective of, what does Tom mean to me?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so love, yeah. I mean, but again, that's that thing that oozes out of him and the Heartbreakers is it is love. It is empathy. It is connection. It is universalism as opposed to, it's not, as Matt said, he's not didactic. He's not polarizing. He's a unifier, not a divider, which.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, he had that Peace in LA song that he wrote after the riots, which was very quickly came out. And then you made me just remind me, I'm going to crowbar in my story from 1989. So in 89, obviously, Tom did not have a tremendous amount of albums out there, but that was the time period where he was, I'm trying to think what came out around that time period, but regardless, he was on the cover of Rolling Stone, and it wasn't the issue where he rips the dollar bill. That was before. There's just a picture of him on Rolling Stone as a cover because he's doing massively well. So I wrote a letter into the editor of Rolling Stone and was lucky enough to get it published. And so I took it and had it blown up and just randomly thought, I'm just going to mail it into his studio in LA. So I mailed it to Los Angeles, and then Tom signed it and sent it back to me. So it's like my most coveted treasure of my letter of the 10, the 8 reasons I love Tom Petty. And he wrote, to Mark, with many thanks, Tom Petty.
Yeah.
So it's my prized possession.
And again, that's that thing that had he not done that, you wouldn't have thought any less of him.
No, absolutely not. I would have thought he never saw it.
Yeah. So it's just that thing that I think that it's one thing I always wanted to ask Dana if I ever get to speak to Dana. Is I wonder if he really realized how much he meant to so many people outside of the music, like that connection to this person who you sort of have this idea. Well, Matt's thing about, of being this kind of role model that you sort of want to live your life by the sort of tenets that he set out. I don't know if he knew that. I wonder if he knew that,
Yeah, and I think it's a good point that Matt brings up too. It was I'm just going to live my life this way, not tell you what to do. I'm not dictating to you. You can just watch and see what the right thing to do is.
Yeah.
Right. And that makes us all better people.